Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I am your host, Jason Cercone, and today we're going to discuss why podcast reviews are so damn important. Now, you don't need me to tell you that we're living in a world dominated by reviews. Web 2.0 has made it very easy to find out about any product or any service or any place of business before you even get out of bed. Everybody has a platform to speak their mind and to fill you in on the experiences that they have. Now, this is my take on reviews in general. Yes, they can be very helpful at times. Yes, they can provide useful information that may influence your decision to purchase. But reviews are very subjective. They only tell one side of the story. Reviews will give an account of what the writer of that review experienced, but your experience could be completely different, and you'll never know until you experience things for yourself. Now, due to that subjective nature, the experience written about in a review, whether good or bad, could be the exact opposite experience that you have, or I have, or your neighbor has. If you read a series of reviews and they all point to the same issue, then there's a trend, and the brand needs to evaluate their practices. But if reviews are a mix of good and bad, you need to look deeper to discover what you'll truly experience. So to put it in simple terms, reviews can be a helpful guide, but don't let them dictate everything that you do. Go experience a restaurant that someone wrote a scathing review about and see for yourself whether it's good or bad. Listen to a podcast that interests you despite the fact that someone else felt that it wasn't for them. Enjoy that beer that someone tore apart for being too hoppy. If you rely solely on reviews, you may cost yourself an experience that you'll want to relive time and time again. Now, all that said, why are reviews so important for podcasts? First off, and most importantly, reviews help boost your podcast and algorithms of podcast apps. The more ratings and reviews your show receives, the more credible your show becomes. This lets the various podcatchers know that people are really liking your content. Therefore, others will too. Second, reviews help new listeners get familiarized with your podcast. Now, when a new listener discovers your show, they'll most likely read through some of the reviews to see what others found interesting, or not so interesting, about your podcast. Now, as I stated before, this shouldn't be the only guide. Now, it doesn't hurt to check the reviews, but go beyond that. And as a podcast creator, you need to think above just the reviews. Now, when I search for a podcast on a particular subject, I'm typically grabbed by the cover art and the show name first. If those two items grab me, I'll check out the podcast description. If I'm still intrigued, I'll check out a couple reviews. Then I'll scroll through available episodes and I'll look for subject matter relevant to me. If an episode grabs me, I'll listen to it all the way through, and then to another, and so on and so on. Now, this is where, as a creator, you want to be sure that you're looking at all of the right items in succession in order to grab a person. Good-looking artwork, a solid show description, engaging show title, quality content, and all of the reviews that come from that will paint the vast picture of a podcast. The more you stand out, the better your results will be. And those good reviews will all funnel in if you focus on those first four items: artwork, solid description, engaging show titles, and quality content. Those are the items that are going to attract people to your show. The more they engage with your content, the more likely they are to leave you a good review. Now, another thing to consider, reviews add credibility to your content. Now, your podcast should be focused on establishing your authority in your niche. Regardless of your subject matter, you want to engage your audience by solving their problems, entertaining them, and showcasing your knowledge of topics that are up for discussion on each particular episode. The more you do this, the more positive reviews you'll get. And the more positive reviews you have, the more credible your content will be. Again, focus on creating that quality content, and the good reviews will follow. Now, in some cases, people will leave you a review for your podcast without being prompted, but most people will need to be led by the hand to leave you a review. You can do this by ending each episode with a call to action, and don't be afraid to spell it out step by step for your listeners. Literally walk them through the process and stress the importance of their review. Something like this. And that's going to do it for this session of Pod Theory. If you enjoy this content, please, please, please take a minute out of your time to visit your podcast app and rate and review the show. If you use an app like Apple Podcasts, simply scroll to the ratings and reviews section, Click the number of stars you feel Pod Theory deserves, then click write a review to let the world know what you think. Your review will help more listeners find this podcast. Thank you very much in advance. See, there you go. Now go do it yourself. Good talk. I'll see you back here tomorrow. This has been Jason Cercone on Pod Theory.